Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's got the cleanest bike of them all? How does speed affect our brains? How can 100,000 volts be beautiful? Kickstands up, hit it!
iKuztom. America's sexiest custom bikes.
I'm CC Bobber, and this is iKuztom. So what is clean, really clean, and totally clean? That's right, nothing but Exile Cycles. We'll take you backstage into Russell Mitchell's world. Come on in.
My name's Russell Mitchell and I own Exile Cycles. And this is the story of how we built this bike from a bare frame to the beautiful beast you see in front of you now. So we're gonna build a complete ground-up bike for our good friend Josh Homme, lead singer at Queens of the Stone Age, the Crooked Vultures, and we're right at the start. This is a completely raw Exile rigid frame. We're gonna take this frame, gonna weld on all the bracketry required for his build, mount the fender, then it'll go off to paint and powder coat, then we'll assemble it, then he'll come and ride it away. So here we are, day one. First thing I'm going to do on this one is we're going to put the oil tank brackets in place. They're going to sit up here and support the oil tank. I'm just going to measure the center point of the frame here so we keep everything centralized. We have a jig made for this and for a bunch of the other operations. So this is our oil tank jig. As you can see, the brackets bolt up to the underside, keeps everything flat, gets everything in exactly the right position. This sits up in the frame like this, and basically that just puts our oil tank brackets in exactly the right position. And all we got to do now is tack them in place and then finish weld them. Okay, so now we've got our oil tank brackets in place on the frame. And we got to repeat that for the kickstand and the gas tank and all the other brackets that need to be in place on this frame before we go to powder coat. We stain the area where the motor's going to sit with a dye. So once the motor's in place, we can scribe around the motor base. And when we get this powder coated, we're going to mask those areas. So the motor will bolt firmly against the steel of the frame and it won't be crushing a layer of powder coat which can interfere with earth. It'll vibrate, it'll break down over time, cause the motor to possibly come loose in the frame. So that's something we do on all our builds. I didn't always own Exile Cycles. In fact, I was born in a little farming village in the west of England. 1,000 people, beautiful, beautiful setting in the Cotswolds. And I always thought I would grow up, live, marry, die in the same village. I was totally into nature. I actually ended up going to university to become a veterinarian, and I am a veterinarian. I practiced for 4 or 5 years in London before I moved to the States. Hey, you know, this dog's not too bad, but it'd look a lot better if we painted it flat black. Okay, so we've put a drivetrain into the bike now. We're fortunate in that we have an old transmission, an old rear wheel, exactly the same type that we're going to use on the bike, but these are our mock-up pieces that we use over and over again so we don't scratch up the real one. To get the exhaust pipes in exactly the right position, you have to remember that each motor type can have a different height. So this is the actual motor that's going to end up in this bike. This is a Harley-Davidson motor. I've actually put a chain in place and align this rear wheel, tension the chain, so this is exactly where the rear wheel is going to wind up on the final bike. And then we just take the fender, slide it into position, and then we fiddle around with it until we're exactly happy where it is, and then we start welding all the brackets into place. The other thing we must remember to do at this stage, now the motor's in place, is we're going to scribe around that motor so we know exactly where to mask off the powder coat. I always had a minimalist appreciation. I like things that are clean, that are simple, that are tough. Back in England, being a biker is all about being tough. It's not about, you know, bright colors or fancy stuff. It's all about back bikes, tough, tattoos, you know. And that was kind of the imagery that appealed to me when I was a youngster. And I think that stuck with me. As I've got older, I've become more and more of a minimalist, not only in the bikes, but in my appreciation of architecture and furniture and pretty much anything. Pretty much anything looks its most beautiful when it's most simple. Through some sort of weird story, my girlfriend at the time entered me in this sort of tongue-in-cheek male pageant as part of a telethon, a charity thing, and I won it. Now, the guy that came second was 70 years old, so that'll tell you how sort of tongue-in-cheek it was. But it was a fun thing, and there was a lot of press, and through that press, I met the lady that designed Princess Di's wedding dress. And she kind of championed me and pushed me to get into the modeling scene and hooked me up with a model agent. So I was living this kind of double life. I was the white coat vet guy, you know, dealing with the old ladies and their cats and dogs in the daytime. And then other days, I'd be doing the modeling gigs with the girls in bikinis, and you know, it was a really interesting double life. And then at nighttime, London club scene. What could be better for a 20-something guy? Well, let's check the tread. Oh, got a few miles left in that.
iKuztom. Coming up, speed research and 100,000 volts. iKuztom.
In our scientific research, we investigated the effects that speed has on our mind. It seems like extreme speeds trigger the same emotion as cool bikes and hot babes. Once you get those endorphins released into your body, well, you know what to do. Ride it hard.
Nothing beats slamming that gas when that light turns green, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Youth. It's all about the rush, I think. It's almost like a drug.
It's exhilarating. I used to really love to go fast, and I still do, but
a lot of people are addicted to that adrenaline, you know. I mean, I am too, kind of.
Every now and then you get that little itch and you want to go 120.
Get your heart pumping, you know you're alive.
A little 5-10 miles, catch up to these guys, show them what a Harley can do on a towards a metric crotch rocket guy. Hey.
Once you pass through that wall, it cleans you out.
The faster you go, the more dangerous it is, and you sense that, which causes the adrenaline to flow a little more.
Going fast is nice if you're younger.
iKuztom.
I feel a little speedy myself here. Let's slow it down a bit and check back with Russell over at Exile Cycles.
Here's our frame. All the brackets are welded in place. We've marked off the masking points. This is ready to go to powder coat and get a nice gloss black finish on it. Our fender here has the struts all welded in place, just a little bit of finish work, clean up the edges. This will be ready to go off to the paint shop along with the gas tank and the front fender. And then these are our raw pipes. These will go out and get a high temperature coating on them. So next time we see this little lot, it should all be looking beautiful, black, and be ready for assembly. And then around about 1990, I got a chance through LA Models to come to California for a couple of months. So, hey, what you gonna do? Came to California and really, like every other English guy that sets foot in California, fell in love with the place, the weather, the girls, the lifestyle. You know, you gotta love California.
We've been a powder coater with Russell at Exile since Russell came here from Europe many years ago. He delivered a raw frame to us that needed a bit of work on it. We took the frame and we've done some fill work to it to help hide some of the rough spots on the welds. The way we've accomplished this is using a two-part epoxy mixture with a little bit of aluminum in it so that it will take the electrostatic charge that we use in powder coating.
That's far out.
We're charging the powder negatively with somewhere between 10 and 100,000 volts of negative charge while the frame is being grounded. So that allows for a natural attraction of the powder onto the steel part.
That's unbelievable.
Now we're going to take it, hang it back on the rack. We've concentrated on the areas that we've done the fill work, and you can see it's kind of got this flat sheen to it. It's not glossy right now. If I was to touch this right now, I can wipe the powder off and it'll leave that mark. So we don't want to touch it at all. We want to get it in the oven as quickly as possible. That oven is being run at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Some of our European counterparts might recognize that as being a little closer to 200 C.
Let's do this already.
This light sanding is almost acting as a smoothing process to get the top coat to have its best look. We're doing two things. We're trying to get rid of blemishes that are in the finish, and we're also trying to make the finish itself look better. So we're going to cure these two finishes together. That's something a lot of people don't understand. We're actually going to get a chemical bond here, not just a mechanical bond. So the sanding, even though we've only done it in certain areas, we're not doing that for adhesion. We're doing that for look and to make the frame look as smooth as it can be.
That's badass.
Now that we've finished that top coat, we need to cure the coating. Again, we're going to send it back into the oven, allowing the metal to heat up, causing the powder to turn into a gel and then into a hard coating. Once it comes out of the oven, it's completely hard and finished. There's no time waiting for it to cure or dry. It's all done.
We've got our frame back from powder coat. We've got all the other powder coated pieces here on the shelf. We've got our paintwork back with a beautiful oxblood pinstripe detail on it. We've actually run some of the electrical wire in through this hole here that you can't quite see at the bottom of the frame, up through the frame, and into their final position. We do this first because it's much easier to thread the wires while you've got access. Once you get the other parts of the bike in the way, it makes it a little tougher. The other thing that we have on this bike is we have one hydraulic hose that is running from here. This is going to be the hydraulic clutch hose. So it's running from the transmission end up through the frame, and there's a little connector here under the tank which will connect to the hose coming from the master cylinder on the handlebars.
Coming up, Laughing with Lexi and Precision Lines.
So a guy just bought a new bike with a sidecar. On the first ride, he took his buddy along who had a terrible stutter. This ride might do him good, the biker thought. Right after they took off, the friend started to stutter. Oh, he wants to go faster, so he sped up. From the sidecar came a louder wow, he wants to go even faster, so he sped up more. Even more excitement from the sidecar. I can't believe it. He wants to go full throttle. When it finally came to a stop, the buddy in the sidecar said, "There's no floor in the sidecar."
Remind me never to get a sidecar. Let's get back to Russell over at Exile Cycles.
I'd actually landed a real decent gig. It was a Marlboro commercial, which is a little politically incorrect, I know, but back then it wasn't quite so frowned upon. And I had some money burning a hole in my pocket, and a buddy of mine, my best buddy back in England, he'd come into some money about the same time, and we were looking to buy a couple of Harleys. And I said to him, you know what? Let's not buy Harleys. Let me build us a couple of bikes. I'll build us a couple of ground-up choppers. So I got into the project, and as a struggling actor, I had plenty of time on my hands, so I kind of went above and beyond the call of duty. I designed a lot of one-off parts for these bikes, and it took me a year to finish his bike. And the reason it looks so easy and the reason this bike and our kits and our bikes in general go together so easily is because we spent years developing these parts, improving the parts. Every time we came across a little issue with any part whatsoever, the next run we were able to improve it. Basically, we've had 15 years of R&D to work out any little bugs, and it's paid off. But I built so many one-off parts for it. It was really a unique machine, and unlike pretty much anything the American bike scene was seeing at the time. And the very first night I took it out for a test ride, I took it to the local bike night in Van Nuys, and Keith Ball, who was the editor of Easy Rider at that time, was there, and he came up to me and he loved the bike and he asked me, you know, hey, could we feature it in Easy Riders? And I thought, okay. So we're lined up for a feature in Easy Riders, which was great. Did the photo shoot. Whilst I was waiting for the phone call, I had a party at my house. And a friend of a friend, a guy I never even knew before, came by and he saw the bike and he literally got me by the collar and he said, you have a talent. You have to do this. You've got to do this. You've got to make this your career. And he really, really drummed it into me. And that Saturday, I'd gone down to the Del Mar Classic in Southern California, and I was riding back up on the same bike and I was loving the ride, and I was thinking, you know what? I'm a struggling actor. I need more money and I've got loads of free time. What have I got to lose? So when Easy Riders called for the interview, I made up this whole story about this company called Exile Cycles. I had a buddy who had a pager. I stole his phone number, I gave it to the magazine, and I told this whole tale of how my company, Exile Cycles, had built this bike, and they put it in print. And I sold another bike off the back of that article, and then that bike sold 2 more bikes, and Exile Cycles was born in my garden shed. My skill set back then was pretty limited, and a friend of mine introduced me to an old guy called Chuck Walker, and he had an oversized garage in his backyard with a fully equipped machine shop set up there. I need these things machined, but I'm on a budget, so if there's any of the work I can do myself, and he said, okay, great, well, here's your block of aluminum. First of all, you need to mark it out. There's the mark out fluid, there's the scriber, there's the rule. Give me a shout when you're done. So I marked them out, I drew the triangles, like, okay, great. Now we know what the triangles look like. Now you gotta cut them out. There's the bandsole, there's the on button, there's the eye guard. Let me know when you're done. And this process went on, and a month later, I walked out of his machine shop with a pair of triple trees. And that opened my eyes. Once you can run a machine shop, really there's no limit to what you can make.
Coming up, curve appreciation and riding the beast. iKuztom.
Well, you know what they say, straight lines are good as well as efficient, but let me be honest with you. I do like the curves. Here's another curve appreciation. Enjoy.
What about money? What about love? What about someone to love? I work for my money. It's a big ride. I can't get no honey. Can't even make time.
iKuztom.
There's a threaded cap in this fork tube. We have the straps made with the countersunk holes already in place. These are our Exile forward controls. This is the shift side. What we're doing is we're taking out most of the play, but just leaving a little bit of play in the pedal. This is the point in the game where you get paranoid that you're going to drop a wrench on the paintwork or one false slip. You can see on the underside of here, we got our little switch bar. For the grip ace system, the rider can simply reach under here with his fingers, turn signal, horn, left turn signal, high-low, beautiful. Because with our super fat wheel, to get the caliper onto the rotor actually has to be separated from the wheel itself. This is a hidden front axle. It slides in from this side of the bike. It's going to slide through the wheel, going through the axle spacers in the wheel, and then the threaded end is going to screw into this, which is a press-in nut. This has a thread on the inside of it. This bike's getting a set of our Monster shotgun pipes. We've got a black ceramic coating on them. It won't be affected by the heat, but we've also wrapped them in this temperature-resistant wrap, which is partly for looks, keeps the customer's leg cooler. It's kind of old-school hot rod flavor. And it's going to look real good on this bike because the texture of this kind of ties in with the texture of the suede on the seat we've done for this guy. So it's really going to look nice on this bike. We have a running motorcycle. Runs great. I think I'll keep this one for myself. All right.
Good, looking good.
All right, so here's the beast, all finished.
I'm so excited.
Ready to go.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah, let's see how it fits for a big fella.
You know what I noticed when this was kind of coming together is how light this bike is. Man, I could not be happier. Well, you know, I never give myself anything nice for Christmas, so I thought maybe I had a shot.
Yeah.
Russell, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We'll see you on the next bike.
Yeah. You got to focus on what you know and what you love, and for me, that's motorcycles.
iKuztom.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the cool, clean lines we have time for. Check back next time and we'll knock your socks off. Peace.